Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Robosen Optimus Prime. And he does do poses on his own while he's standing there idle, and it happened to work out perfectly with the timing. I did not plan that. It's just that cool. No, but seriously, they sent me this so that I could review it for you guys. I'm guessing because holiday season's coming around. They didn't tell me anything that I have to say other than like a few of their talking points about features. Obviously, like I have to show you what the item is. But otherwise, this is a straight up review like anything else. Other than it's a giant, fully automatic Optimus Prime action figure. So this review is going to be mostly in the same vein as all of my reviews, but it's going to be a little bit different because I have to do things a little differently since it doesn't have standard articulation and that kind of thing. So, he's way too big for the stand, he's humongous, so he's just going to stand right there and I'm going to be reaching around the camera, and then we're going to be doing a lot of cutting and stuff because there's a whole lot of stuff we have to talk about. So, let's just jump into a height. This guy stands with his legs slightly spread because that's his neutral stance, just about 18.5 centimeters. I think you can get him up to 19. I think that's the official height, but that would have to have his legs closed up completely. So we'll say 18.5 though, and that's going to be about 47 centimeters. So he has some serious size to him. If you want to see a quick comparison against everyone's favorite Marvel Legends figure, there he is. And some people keep saying the joke's getting old. I don't know what joke they're talking about. They asked for size comparison, so here it is. So yeah, this guy's massive, and before we talk about the aesthetic, we do want to do a quick question of the day, and that question is, you guys know I ask you all the time, how do you feel about non-transforming Transformers figures? How do you feel about Transformers figures that transform on their own? That's a whole new ball game. That's a whole new ball of wax. I think it's awesome. I think it's very cool. He keeps doing poses when I don't plan for it, but it works out perfectly. So yeah, his idle poses are maybe not the most dynamic of poses, but we'll get into that. But let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic on this guy. I was expecting it to be a lot clunkier than it is, simply because it is a robot that has to function. I was expecting to see a whole lot more, I don't know, kibble, I guess, and clunky sculpting, but other than having really big feet and slightly more normal humanoid proportions rather than really long legs, it looks fantastic. I have to say, I love the paint job on it. It's obviously not super detailed because it is just Optimus Prime, but what's there is super duper clean, and I love the metallic blue. It's probably my favorite blue, and they did a really good job. The red is slightly metallic also, and then of course we have the silver that is metallic. Everything on here is painted as far as I can tell, like other than like internal bits and things like that. It looks really, really, really good. I have to say, it looks like it came from a toy company, a collectible company, rather than a robotics company. So I think that's exactly what you would want. Obviously, we do have some weirdness with, like, there's gapping in the legs, gapping in the torso. That's just the kind of stuff you can't avoid. You can see a little bit in the arms here. You know, it's a trade-off for having a fully automatic Transformers figure. Two things to note as far as the aesthetic. He does have this flap behind his head normally. That's for truck mode. It just pops off for vehicle mode. So it's a little bit of a parts former in that sense. I'm okay with it personally because of what it is, but it is worth noting. And then we do have to move his little gas cans. They go up and down. So in truck mode, they're all the way up like that. In robot mode, you would have them down like that. But otherwise, it just looks like a straight up normal action figure. I'm thoroughly satisfied with the aesthetic. The big feet don't bother me being Optimus Prime, so I love it. I think they nailed the head. It is a faithful, as much as it can be, G1 representation of Optimus Prime. So I like that a whole bunch. Okay, one thing I want to cover in the aesthetics section, I want to talk about the lighting. He does have lights in his eyes. They're not super bright. So you can see the lights. It's not the easiest thing to see because his eyes are not super bright. You can see they're just kind of glowing blue. That's how it looks in real life. I can try turning off more lights, but you wouldn't be doing it in the dark. So you can see they're there. The eyes don't light up super bright. Most of the lights are intended for vehicle mode. So we'll have him convert. And we're going to learn something right here. We're going to leave the lights off. But when you go into the settings, it has an option for convert mode. And it says back or front. So I'm going to switch that to front and see. Oops. I changed the walking speed. You can change the walking speed, which is pretty cool. Focusing on the phone sucks. So you can do that, but I want to try switching this and see what that does. Alright, so now it's the opposite. So we'll see what it does when I tell it to convert. We're going to turn it sideways just to see what happens. Alright, and I have it connected on my phone, so I'm still going to just use the phone remote control to convert it. Oh, that's cool. So it looks to me like what that switch did was make it turn around before converting. I wonder if this will convert and then turn itself around. We're going to try that, but I do want to show you the lights first. That's what we're here for. We're going to leave the plate off the top because you don't need it right now. So you can see the lights on the front of the vehicle. Nice and bright. Those look super good. No problems there. And then we also have lights on the back of the vehicle. And those look really good. So they did a really good job with the lighting, other than the eyes aren't that bright, but they're not supposed to look like flashlights, so I think that's okay, personally. Alright, so I want to have it convert now and see what happens, see if it just walks itself around. So we're going to hit the convert button. I think he'll just spin around now. Okay, so he turned himself around some. So I'm not sure about that whole feature there. He did turn some, not a lot. But anyway, yeah, you can see the lighting. It's not super great. You can see the lights on the arms when he's not in vehicle mode. That'd be kind of cool if they could turn those off. But still, the lighting is a cool feature. And I'm not going to knock it. It doesn't need lights, and the lights do work. It's just the eyes could be a little bit brighter. So I'm going to give it an aesthetic rating of 9 out of 10. Obviously, it could be better because it's a robot and has gaps in things, but hey, I can't fault them for that. But we do have to give it a fair rating anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. There's not a ton, but I'll mention the packaging in this because it does come in a nice outer box with the limited edition number on it. Fairly high limited edition count, but that's okay. It is somewhat limited, and the box is nice. The inside packaging is a carry case. That's really cool. I love it. It looks like styrofoam, but it's much nicer. It snaps together. It holds all the parts. It holds the robot. Has a handle. Love that. The accessories come in another little styrofoam-ish container, and that's pretty cool. It's good for storage. As far as actual accessories go, not counting the charging cord and that kind of stuff, because of course you get what you need to charge it, because it does have a battery inside. You get his blaster, which is really nice, and you just you can cock it like a shotgun kind of. You rack it like a shotgun and it turns the light on in the front. So that's very cool. And then you also get the energy axe, which I have to say is absolutely gorgeous. It's the most vibrant, saturated, completely transparent plastic. Not completely, I don't know how to describe it accurately, scientifically speaking, but it's so well done. It's so transparent, so saturated, so well sculpted. I love it. And then the only other thing for accessories is a little tiny sticker sheet with 2 Autobot logos. I'm not sure what they're for. They're kind of heavy duty. They feel almost like they might be like super thin metal stickers. But you get some stickers, and I guess you could just use those for whatever you want. So yeah, obviously not the greatest range of accessories, but definitely enough where you're going to have fun with the figure. A lot of the posing on the app tells you not to have the gun or axe in his hands for the pose. Of course, that's so that you don't like get him jammed up against himself. But if you were posing him using poses that suit those, then you would want to put those in his hands. So that's perfectly reasonable. So accessory-wise, given what it is, I'll go 8 out of 10. You get the axe, you get the gun. That's all you really need. That's fine. No real sense in rating the accessories, I suppose, but we'll do it anyway. Okay, now I want to talk about articulation, but since it's a robot that does its own posing, it doesn't have traditional articulation, so I'm not going to go through it that way. You have 2 options for controlling this guy, 2 primary options. One is voice, and one is with the app. I personally find the app to be much superior. It's way less, it's more immersive to use the app, let's say it that way. When you use your voice, you have to talk to him a lot, and so it breaks up the coolness, I think. Hey Optimus Prime.
Greetings.
Walk forward.
Let's go.
Hey Optimus Prime. Are we friends? So I don't know how well you guys can hear it while we're doing this. The voice box in this thing, it's like an actual speaker and it sounds incredible. The quality is superb. It's nice and has good bass, surprisingly. It really sounds good. Peter Cullen's voice comes through very, very nicely. All the robotic movements sound awesome. You can, when you customize your own, we'll get into that in a minute, you can add sounds to your own poses. That's very complicated, but you can do that and it's fairly straightforward. It's just like complicated in that it takes a lot of time, but it's not that difficult. But yeah, all the sounds are coming from the voice box other than the tiny servos that you hear moving, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, you can control it with your voice or you can use the app. I think the app is very cool, but you can do a little bit of customizing for just the voice section also, and I think the customization on this thing is what really sells it as being a unique thing. I mean, obviously it's the first ever fully automatic robot of Optimus Prime, so that's unique, but the customizing is super cool. Optimus Prime.
Greetings.
Customize.
Customize your arsenal.
Walk forward.
Yeah.
Attack.
Yeah.
Are we friends?
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Start actions.
Let's go. Prepare for battle. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
So that would have been a lot cooler if I had his gun in his hand, but you get the idea. You can have it do a whole string of actions, basically whatever you want, and then just tell it to start and it'll do it. So you can have it go through a whole thing, it'll walk around the house, do whatever you want. I mean, obviously around the house is a bit generous of a description, but you can do that. And I do think it's really cool that they have it kind of breathing when it's just standing there idle. The shoulders move, the chest moves, all that kind of stuff. Very, very cool. Okay, so that's the customization with the voice, and there's a whole bunch of different voice commands you can use. But what I would definitely recommend is that you use the app. And the app is definitely, it's involved. There's a ton of different options. Using the voice disconnects the app.
Connection complete.
When you connect your phone to the robot, it'll let you know, and it'll show you on the app also. But I want to show you one of the coolest actions because you can download a whole bunch. There's a section on here. Hopefully you guys can see this. There's a section on here for actions, and there's a whole bunch, and then you can download even more. I'll show you real quick. Hopefully you guys can see this. I think you can. There's a whole bunch. It'll just populate, and it's just tons of super advanced ones. All right, so I downloaded one the other day. I think this is the one we want. I'm gonna do it now. I want to be clear before I start it. This thing's meant to be used on a hard surface, a smooth surface, which my review table is, but it's not a big surface. And this thing's pretty big, so it has a tendency to move a lot. It is a robot, and it could fall off. So I'm gonna just be here just in case, because like I said, you should be doing this on the floor or like a big dining room table. My review table is very small, relatively speaking. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna see what it does. This is a pretty cool sequence of poses. So this will just give you an idea of how capable this thing actually is. Okay, so that was the Kung Fu Master routine, and as you can see, this thing is more than capable of hitting just about any pose you want. I think that's fantastic. That would be enough for me. If you could go through all these different poses and tell it to do the different things, that would be fine. Of course, you can't control it in vehicle mode. We'll talk about that briefly toward the end. But the really cool thing about this guy, another one, is you can create your own.
Customize your arsenal.
Okay, so we're just going to start a really basic customization. You'll see the whole top half is unlocked. That makes the top half limp. Bottom half is locked. It's not going anywhere. You can lock and unlock anything you want. That'll help you do really advanced stuff. Obviously, we don't have time for that. Nobody's going to watch a 45-minute video on this. So we're just going to do something very basic with the upper arms. What you do is he's limp right now. You pose him. You hit sync. You pose him again. You hit sync as many times as you want, and it'll link all of those things together in these blocks here. So we're going to do that. So we'll start with his arms out like that. So you see they're forward, he's standing still, you hit sync. It picks up what the robot is doing. Then you hit the plus right there. That's our first pose. Okay, so that's going to be our second pose. And then we just hit sync and hit the plus again. And then you can keep doing as many poses as you want, or you can just copy ones you've already done. You just click them and then click another box like that. And then that's it. So then you just hit play and he will do the poses. Okay, so obviously that was super basic, super simple. And you could do a whole lot more. You can add sound effects, you can do all kinds of stuff, but it's a very involved process. So I'm not going to waste your time with that. I'll show you another one that has already been made. That would give you a better idea. So I'm just going to go to actions. Again, you can download anything you want, or you can pick one that they already have. So like right now, we could do a hero pose. And you can do this yourself. You can make your own variation of it using the customized thing, or you can just use the ones that they have. You can command them to do these with voice or by hitting the buttons.
Till all are one.
So yeah, he's got all kinds of ability. I like this one a whole bunch. I'll turn him this way. I think you need to be sideways for this one for the review table anyway. So we'll just do this one.
I need energon.
So yeah, push-ups is one of the things he can do. I think it's just amazing how much this thing's capable of doing. Here, we'll try another one. I don't know what this one is.
It's now or never.
Oh, it's the uppercut. Okay, cool. So yeah, he's got tons of options, and of course you can have him convert. Now when he converts, he takes up a lot of space front to back. So I turn him sideways on the review table just because I don't have a ton of space front to back on the review table. And I'm still using the phone app. So what I'm going to do is disconnect, and I'll do it with the voice instead so you guys can see how that works. Hey Optimus Prime,
Greetings.
convert. Alright, now obviously he was not in a spot where you guys could see him very well. So what I'll do is I'll tell him to back up and we'll see how far he goes, and I'll have to catch him if he goes too far. Hey Optimus Prime,
Greetings.
go backward. Go back.
Optimus Prime.
Right wheel is stuck. Reboot to restore. Right wheel is stuck. Reboot to restore. Right wheel is stuck. Reboot to restore.
Alright, so that was a good example of how this works. What happens is if it goes somewhere and it can't go any farther on the wheels, for instance, or even if it's transforming and something is binding, like you've caught it on something, or his gun jams into his crotch, or who knows what, it'll tell you, hey, I can't do this. turn the power off, turn it back on, and I'll be able to go again. So that's how that works. And so now you got to see that. While it's off real quick, I'll close these up. And then I'll move the camera so you can actually see it transform a couple of times. Alright, so it's in vehicle mode. We'll turn it back on.
Greetings. I am Optimus Prime.
It'll do a quick check every time you start it, and now it's ready to go. So I'll say, hey Optimus Prime.
Greetings.
Convert. So yeah, it poses, in the sense, really well. But also not at all, because you can't leave him posed. For instance, if you power him down...
Autobots never give up.
He goes into robot pose. Like, you don't want to have that on your shelf. This guy's not a shelf piece, unfortunately. Because of that, unless there's something I don't know about, and I've gone through the instructions and I've tried everything, there's no way to have him stay posed.
I am Optimus Prime.
So yeah, it's not going to pose for a shelf, but it does look really cool, and it does do what it's supposed to do while it's active. Even when you turn it off in truck mode, it goes limp. It's fairly limp. It needs to be in the box, basically, or sitting on a shelf, but even then it's still limp and the legs can bend and stuff. So it's not for posing, it's not for display in that sense, it's strictly for use. Now, maybe there's a way that they can add in some firmware update or something like that, a way for it to stand stiff once you pose it, or even in a neutral stance, but as of right now, that's not a thing. But ultimately, it's still freaking cool and it does what it's supposed to do. I think it's amazing. I love it. It is quite expensive. I think it's worth the money, technically speaking. Of course, that's up to you guys subjectively if you would pay that kind of money for a toy. And this is a toy in the truest sense. It makes big kids happy. It's super cool. I think they've achieved their goal perfectly. I mean, as perfectly as something can be done with a budget. I think there's room for improvement, and that's the nature of things generally speaking. It's their first robot of Optimus Prime. So maybe they could add a firmware update or something like that where you can leave it posed on a shelf. Or, you know, different things. I don't know, like... Maybe they could get rid of some gapping or whatever. As technology advances, those kinds of things tend to happen. So there's always room for improvement, but for what it is, I think it's incredibly well done. Alright, so when it's in vehicle mode, you get a different interface on your phone for the remote control. Now you can do things with your voice still, but it's way less precise. And if you tell it to, like, go forward, for instance, it could just launch off a table or whatever, because it moves pretty well. So I would use the phone for sure. And you get down here, this little wheel. It's basically like a video game controller. So forward is forward, back is back, and then forward, left, forward, you know, it turns, it'll go. So I'll try it real quick, just very, very briefly, because like I said, review table, a very small space. But you just drag the center circle up to the arrow. So it'll talk and move at the same time, but of course, like I said, limited space, so I can't do too much. It does have sound effects, so you can honk the horn, you can make it talk, and then of course, I'll show you on the phone, I guess. So yeah, you can honk the horn up there, you can make it talk down here, and then you can press this button right here to convert. Over here, this is for things that don't come in the package, it's a trailer and the rover. So yeah, we'll hit this button to make it convert. And it shouldn't fall off the table in that position. So we'll just tap the button, and there you go. And now he's back in robot mode, and you have, it automatically adjusts what you see on your screen to have all the commands to make him turn left and right, walk forward, walk back, do different sound effects, different voices, different motions, and then again the convert button. So yeah, it's got everything you could possibly want for a remote-controlled, fully automatic, robotic Optimus Prime. Vehicle mode is obviously less interesting than robot mode, but it's still really cool. And I'll leave you with one, because obviously doing the customized thing, it can get very, very involved. So instead of me doing a customized thing, I'll show you one that was made by somebody else. And this should be... Well, here, I'll show you how downloading works. We'll go... that's a different thing. We'll go to downloading over here, and then we will do ab exercise. We'll download ab exercise. All right, so I downloaded that one. It says he's learned the move. You can hit try now. And I'm gonna turn him sideways just because I don't want him to accidentally wipe out on the table. Also, my table is super slick, so if you're on a regular hardwood floor, that would be good. I don't have any hardwood floors that are good to use right now, so can't show you that. But all right, so it said try now. Do you want it? It says take off the weapons and things. So I'm gonna say okay, and he'll try it. So he's doing his ab exercises. I was not expecting him to do that butterfly backwards motion to lay down, but that's what he did. So yeah, like you can program anything you want using the customize feature, or like I said, download your own, or download ones that other people have done, and then just have fun with them. So that's cool. I guess you guys want to see one more. Maybe you want to see one more. So we'll just go ahead and do, if I can focus on the phone, we'll go ahead and find more. And should we try Boxing Champion? Let's try Boxing Champion. Okay, so you're seeing the whole process. It doesn't usually take too long to download. That says it's got it, so we'll hit try now. I have the warning on, so it takes a second, which is good because I don't want it to fall off. We'll turn it like that. Hopefully I have enough room there. And then all we have to do, and of course you would have that red thing off the back of his head normally. So it says take away the guns or the gun and the axe, then hit OK. And now he should do his boxing champ stuff. I can't get over how fast it can move. That was super cool. I've never done the Boxing Champion one before. I like that a whole bunch. That's so cool. One other thing, I do wish they could turn the head. His head doesn't turn, it just goes up and down a little bit. But yeah, this thing's incredible. It's so well thought out. So, final verdict on this thing. It is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's awesome. I do have to dock it a point for not being able to hold a pose and be on a shelf, but otherwise, like, they nailed it. It is the coolest self-transforming transformer ever. It's the first one, but they did a really good job. So I'm gonna give this thing a 9 out of 10. It is what it's supposed to be, and I don't think you'll be disappointed going in with any sort of reasonable expectations. It looks great, it functions, the remote controls are cool, the voice controls are cool, the customization is amazing. It's just awesome. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, the thumbs down is okay too, and if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.